Welcome back to the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast presented by BrotoFantasy.com. I'm your host, Tim PETROP, with my brothers, the only two twins that give you double that fantasy goodness, Michael and Jason PETROP. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Summer Heat Wave Jets edition. We're starting off the AFC East with our Jets, a team close to our heart.
Oh, yeah.
And a team close to Jason's head.
And the home of the
Jets. And if we take a closer look at the Jets, if you want to take a closer look, at the Jets near Jason's head, you could catch us on youtube.com/BrotoFantasy. We'll be posting the whole Summer Heat Wave series on there. Take a look at our brand new studio. We put a lot of work into it, so take a look at that over there. But before we get into anything else, let's get right into it with the offensive outlook of the year for the Jets. New offense completely. New head coach is Adam Gase. He comes over from the Miami Dolphins. He comes over with Dowell Loggins, the same exact offensive coordinator that was in Miami. A couple of highlights from last year in Miami. Ryan Tannehill, 6th overall in true throw value. The Dolphins overachieved every year when it came to offense. The only problem is their two stars, or the two guys that people thought were going to be great in the offense because of their talent, Kenyon Drake, Devontae Parker, they were used sparingly. So the Dolphins' offense, although they overachieved, was always greater as a sum rather than the total parts. The Adam Gase offense is a little confusing, a little unhinged for fantasy purposes. So, Jason, do you think that Adam Gase is the right fit here?
I think that I said this in an earlier podcast earlier in the summer, but I'm going to say it again because the Adam Gase offense is two things. The last few years, it's been slow and it's been efficient.
And when you say slow, you mean they don't run as many plays as other teams.
They're usually bottom in the league in plays run.
And efficient means when they do run the plays, they get better. Yeah, they get better results,
yardage,
right, and yardage.
So something's going to have to change, and we're either going to be very happy or very sad. If the slow switches to fast and efficient is the combo everybody aims for. If the efficient switches to non-efficient, slow and non-efficient is a combo everybody does not aim for.
Disaster.
So we're really looking at a big pendulum here for the Jets. I think it's going to be more of a plus.
Michael?
Yeah.
I mean it's hard to get any worse than the Jets offense last year in terms of the play callers and the guys who were in charge.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it with the second-year quarterback, Sam Darnold. Last season, he was the youngest quarterback in the league, which is why we have this Baby Sam Darnold, Baby Sam Darnold.
Right, I said
So Baby Sam is coming in for his second year. Now, second-year quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round, we're going to keep Dak Prescott out of this. But since 2015, let's take a look at it. Deshaun Watson in his second year, QB4. Mitch Trubisky, QB15, but missed 3 games, on pace for a QB1 type of totals. Carson Wentz to QB5 despite missing 3 games. Jared Goff finishes the QB12. Marcus Mariota finishes the QB12. The only first
Pat Mahomes
in his
play his
second
rookie
year.
season until last week, but
right. Well, we're still waiting on Mahomes' second year. Technically
was his second year.
But the only rookie quarterback that did not have a top 12 QB finish in his second year, besides Mitch Trubisky, who again missed 3 games, was Jameis Winston.
Famous Jameis.
He was also the only one to have a great rookie season, though, so maybe those correlate. Also, for Sam Darnold in his favor, got better as the year went on. PFF had him as the second-ranked QB in the NFL in weeks 14 through 17 last year. So, let's start with you, Michael. Sam Darnold, we all think that he's going to take a step up. Do you think that he's going to take a step up enough to be a fantasy viable quarterback?
Yeah, I've spoken about Darnold a bunch. He was one of my fireworks in the fireworks episodes. Listen to that if you haven't yet. He was number 4 in true throw value over the last 4 weeks as well. Number 1 in the ESPN QBR as well. So over the last 4 weeks, you said number 2 in PFF. He was an absolute stud at the QB position, and that was after he sat for a couple games because of injury and watched Josh McCown. He said that helped him a lot, just the way he studies the field and goes through the progressions.
Can't learn from a better guy than Josh McCown either. He's been through the ringer, has had success, has had failures.
Yeah, and ending the season on that note was great for a rookie quarterback to build his confidence going into this season. He has Adam Gase now, who, yes, his teams haven't been great, and he's still kind of a question mark, but the last time he had a great quarterback was Peyton Manning, and he broke records. So I'm not saying Sam Darnold is Peyton Manning. I'm saying Sam Darnold was better than Ryan Tannehill, Brock Osweiler, and the other guys that he's been using over the past 3 years.
Jason, you have a stat. You have a stat called true throw value, where you give a number to each time the quarterback throws a ball, whether it's incomplete or non-incomplete, how many fantasy points that it's worth, right? I said not incomplete, a.k.a. complete. So, Jason, give us a little bit of a sense of what Adam Gase did with Ryan Tannehill last year.
Well, if you look at, it's not even just, you need to look at the other Miami quarterbacks to understand, because Brock Osweiler also started a good amount of games, right? And if you look at Brock Osweiler's true throw value, that's on par with Blake Bortles, bottom of the league. You look at Ryan Tannehill, he jumps up to 6th, just ahead of Deshaun Watson. So Ryan Tannehill didn't throw a lot. He wasn't a huge fantasy production person, but when he was throwing and making plays, they were going for a lot of fantasy points. So the idea here is that we're looking at incremental improvements. Tannehill's better than Osweiler. Darnold is better than Tannehill. I think we can all agree on that. So if we're going to see these improvements going on always, Darnold's going to be a top 10 quarterback in true throw value. It's just a matter of how much he's able to run. I mean, not run. How many plays are able to run?
Well, rushing yards, too. He did start using his legs more at the end of last season.
And always keeps plays alive with those legs. Speaking of legs, let's go move over to the wide receivers for this Jets team. Robby Anderson, right? He's in his contract year. He had a lot of high hopes coming into last season after a career year. Had an ankle injury that slowed that down, but also you got to remember he was developing with the youngest rookie, not only in the league, but in the history of the league. Sam Darnold, before the Dolphins game week 9, that's where he got injured, and we were just talking about how Michael said the Josh McCown interaction and the bye week. He had 5.77 air yards per game. During that time, per attempt, excuse me. Yeah, not per game. Robby Anderson during that time never had more than 3 catches in a game.
Unbelievable.
Now, it is unbelievable, but then when you think about it, Robby Anderson's a deep threat. So if they're not throwing deep passes, no bueno all around, right? Now, time off, injury, bye, that benefited Darnold. He comes back after that, 7.79 air yards per game.
That's a huge increase.
That's a giant increase. And if you don't know how air yards work, 7.79 is above average, right? So he went above and beyond by two whole yards per attempt. Now, Robby Anderson is a deep threat. After Darnold improved, Robby Anderson more than doubled his receptions per game and had 2 wide receiver 1 performances in the last 3 weeks. Adam Gase has said that he believes Robby Anderson is a number 1 wide receiver. He's going to expand Robby Anderson's route tree. Jason, there's a lot to like. I don't even think I mentioned that it's a contract year for Robby Anderson. A lot of things to like about Robby Anderson this year. But there was a lot of things to like last year. Is this the year that Robby Anderson finally reaches that potential that everyone thinks he has?
I hope so. I think Robby Anderson's going where he should be going around the 6th round because his potential is through the roof.
Yeah.
But his potential to disappoint is also there.
You think he has a potential to be a wide receiver 1 if the cards fall correctly?
I'd say a high-end wide receiver 2 if
That'd
the cards
be tough.
fall correctly. The concern here is that he ends up becoming Kenny Stills. The Kenny Stills part of the Dolphins offense, where he's a deep threat, but he's not utilized enough. Because Kenny Stills was always a flex play at best in his time in Miami. But with Adam Gase talking up Robby Anderson more, saying that he's going to run more routes, he's not going to be as one-dimensional, you would think. He was the best receiver on that team. He probably arguably still is. And then if you look at the people they added, it'll help Robby Anderson. Jamison Crowder is one of the best people at creating separation in the middle of the field. People forget that. He's like 26 years old. He's had some injuries. But he's one of the best separation creators on earth. So when you got someone that dynamic in the middle of the field, taking the safeties, bringing them in, or keeping the linebackers in there, so then Robby Anderson's one-on-one on the outside, that's going to help a lot as well.
Another guy you talked about Jamison Crowder. Another guy that's coming back from injury.
I do want to say, though, about Jamison Crowder, I think he's a steal and a half.
We're going to get to Jamison. I'm going to ask you about Quincy Enunwa first because I want both of your guys' opinions on Jamison Crowder. He averaged 9 targets per game before the injury, showed flashes of greatness, but he's definitely that possession wide receiver in the middle of the field, not a giant TD threat. What's Quincy Enunwa's floor and ceiling this year?
So Enunwa, I think he could be a flex play some weeks. I don't think he's going to be a top 36 receiver by any means unless there's an injury. Robby Anderson's there to stretch the field. Jamison Crowder in the middle. But Quincy Enunwa, he could move around anywhere. We saw this last season. He's an absolute just animal athletically. He's 6'4". He's basically a tight end playing wide receiver with the agility of a wide receiver. So he's a mismatch basically for anyone blocking him. If Adam Gase is able to use that to his ability and use Quincy Nunez's size, I could see him getting more involved in the red zone and downfield as well. So I think Quincy Nunez has some potential there. I like him because he's basically free in drafts. You're getting him in like a 15th, 16th round. So you could do worse as a wide receiver 5 or 6. I'm perfectly fine with Quincy Nunez there.
Let's go over to Jamison Crowder then.
Jamison Crowder, I think, is one of the biggest steals of the draft because he could honestly reach 80 receptions and 1,000 yards, and I would not be shocked. Adam Gase likes to throw to his slot receivers, so Albert Wilson was having a heck of a year last year.
And let's not forget that 2 years before that, Jarvis Landry led the league in receptions out of the slot.
Yeah, he likes to throw to his slot receivers, and this team is perfect for the Adam Gase offense because they could move it around to so many pieces. So Robby Anderson is going to take the top off the defense. Nunez could move anywhere once Herndon returns. He dominates the middle of the field, and then Crowder could literally just create space one-on-one against safety, linebacker, nickel corner, whoever's on him, and he's proven that he could do that. And Sam Darnold was best last year in intermediate routes,
Which you could argue is the most important.
which you could argue is the most important for a quarterback. So, which again fits perfectly for Jamison Crowder, and he's an awesome draft day value right now, going in the double-digit rounds.
Sometimes not drafted.
Yeah, sometimes not drafted. Just a complete afterthought right now, and that's a mistake.
Someone that's not an afterthought, Le'Veon Bell of the running backs, obviously in the running back section here. He's back. Here's my motto for the year. Ready? Kawhi did it. Kawhi came back after missing an entire year because he wanted to and then won a championship. If Kawhi could do it, why can't Le'Veon?
Kawhi can't Le'Veon.
But with that being said, he does have a very unique style of running. Maybe you forgot about that while he had a year off. He's very patient behind the line. The Steelers, one of the best, most dynamic offensive lines and one of the most cohesive offensive lines because they've been together for so long in the entire league. Does that style work with the Jets and their O-line? And does Adam Gase use him as much as we expect? Le'Veon Bell said he's willing to carry the ball 500 times this year.
I think Le'Veon Bell is dynamic, and we were able to see what Kenyon Drake was able to do when he was getting touches. So I think that's going to work in Le'Veon Bell's favor.
So what was Kenyon Drake able to do? Because a lot of people don't realize that Kenyon Drake was one of the best receiving running backs in the league last year.
He was running back 17 in PPR, and in half PPR, and he barely touched the ball that much.
Yeah, he was 41st in carries and 14th in receptions, and ended as RB17.
Is where you want to be at, and Kenyon Drake was pretty high up in true throw value because the Tannehill throw in the Adam Gase offense was important. So when you look at Le'Veon Bell, he's able to make plays out of nothing, and I think that's where it's going to be helpful. He's able to make plays out of nothing. He's also a great receiver out of the backfield. And when you're talking about a young quarterback like Sam Darnold, he made a lot of mistakes last year running out of the pocket, just throwing it across the field. When you have Le'Veon Bell there now, and you know, this is Le'Veon Bell. It's not Bilal Powell.
Right.
You're going to throw it to Le'Veon Bell, and he can make something out of nothing. Hey, diddle, diddle. Le'Veon Bell up the middle.
And Adam Gase likes to use running backs out wide now and then, too. And you got Le'Veon Bell, who has done that repeatedly.
Yes.
With the Steelers.
That's one of the best aspects that he had as a Steeler is he would line up in the slot or on the outside all the time.
Yeah, he's probably the best running back in the league to be able to do that, and Adam Gase has done that in the past with guys like Kenyon Drake.
I think it might be a sign that Gase brought in Ty Montgomery. Because not necessarily a bad thing for Bell, but that it was insurance for Bell.
I have a
way
little,
that they're going to use him.
I have a little bit of a Ty Montgomery take a little later in this mini episode. Bilal Powell still on the roster. Elijah McGuire still on the roster.
Bilal Powell re-signed.
Trenton Cannon still on the roster. I mean, Bilal Powell looks like he's slotted to be the backup after that, and then Ty Montgomery in a receiving type third down role, and then Elijah McGuire. It does seem like his days are numbered, and same with Trenton Cannon. No real reason to talk about that anymore. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the tight ends. Chris Herndon gets a 4-game suspension for his stupidity.
He's appealing, and it could be cut down to 2. we've seen
Hopefully.
suspensions will get cut in half.
So
just 'cause the
he's
appeal was
appealing the suspension. I thought you meant he's appealing as a player. And I'm going to tell you why I thought you said that.
Oh, that's
because
appealing.
he's
Yeah.
also appealing as a player. Last year, 503 yards and 4 TDs. Nothing really special, right? Nothing that
For
stands
rookie
out.
tight end.
For tight
Let's
end.
put it into perspective. Only 29 other rookie tight ends have ever had over 500 receiving
Ever.
yards, and that's also including Mark Andrews in the same season. So 28, not including Mark Andrews. Only 9 players in the last 10 years, 2 of them being Gronk and Aaron Hernandez in the same year, have had 4 TDs or over as a rookie tight end. I think people are sleeping on Chris Herndon, especially what he did later in the year. As Darnold got better, Herndon got better. He is gone for four games. For me, he's going to be one of my favorite pickups in Week 5.
You know what scares me a little bit about Chris Herndon is the fact that he is missing the first 4 games, and this is a brand new offense coming in with Logains and Gase running the show now. So they're going to have to, the first 4 weeks, the Jets can't afford to start slow. So they need to get their offense prepared without Chris Herndon. And sure, they just signed Ryan Griffin, but Ryan Griffin has never been a big-time passing threat.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're going to have to get their offense ready to go without Chris Herndon, and if that's successful, it's going to be harder for Chris Herndon to get a big role in the passing game once he returns.
I think you might look at it the other way. It's less of a concern that he's going to be involved when he gets back because they got Ryan Griffin.
And
Who's
Wake-
Ryan Griffin?
And
holding
Waco,
off?
the fourth.
They have Trevon Wesco,
Trevon
but he's a
Wesco.
rookie.
Right.
He's not going to contribute those first 4
West
games.
go where the Jets go.
I think that Herndon, it's a perfect spot in this offense. Quincy Enunwa, I think, is going to be the best real-life player. He's going to be so important for the Jets. But he's not going to be fantasy relevant. He's going to make the plays that count on the field and not
Right.
in fantasy.
He'll
gonna
catch
block
the ball 7
well.
times. He'll block. He'll go for 75.
And then when you have
4
Robby
yards.
Anderson stretching the field, Crowder running drags and slants, Bell coming on wheel routes, you got the middle of the field open for Herndon. And I think that's going to work.
Well, from your mouth to
The
to
issue is
Chris
volume.
Herndon's ears.
We know it's going to be efficient. We need volume.
All right, it's an exciting offense to get excited about. Another reason to get excited is if you're one of the guys behind one of these injury prone guys that we're talking about, particularly the wide receiver core, who all have injury history in their past. Michael, who's your one injury away guy?
Mine is Quincy Enunwa. If Crowder or Anderson go down, he obviously doesn't have the same skill sets as those guys, but Adam Gase, he has shown that he gets the best ability out of the guys that he has. He uses them to the best of their ability. So they'll find a way to get Enunwa the ball if one of the other 2 guys goes down. And he'll be back on the wide receiver 3 radar-ish like he was last season, the beginning of the year.
Jason?
I went Trevon Wesco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kill me. I went with the rookie.
Yeah,
tight
about to
end.
say that was
But
unexpected.
it's not because I don't think he's going to be a tight end one. I wouldn't support drafting him more. But just put him on the watch list just because Herndon is suspended, like you said. If Herndon were to get hurt, all they did was bring in Ryan Griffin. Now, Wesco is someone that Brian Baldinger is comparing to Gronk. His best attribute right now is his blocking abilities. And we always talk about how rookies, especially tight ends, running backs, what's going to get them on the field is their blocking. So if Herndon were to go down, Ryan Griffin's not going to do anything. I think Wesco might enter the streaming potential category he's going to be a blocking tight end most of the time, but all he has to do is catch a few play action touchdowns at the 3-yard line to get some notoriety.
Play action spot, Madden
Yeah.
original goal line run.
Interesting.
Play.
My one injury away was originally Josh Bellamy because of the 3 injury-prone wide receivers in front of him. But if you go back into Josh Bellamy's past, dude's 29 years old. He was brought in really to be a gunner on special teams. That's kind of his specialty. So I don't really think that he's going to have that opportunity. Then I looked at the running backs, and I said, this guy's 3rd on the running back depth chart, but he started as a wide receiver. Jason mentioned him. Ty Montgomery could have a role as a running back or wide receiver on this team. He's been running with the running backs. Obviously, he's a running back now, but he came into the league as a wide receiver. He played in college as a wide receiver. Had productive pass as a wide receiver, and his main competition is Josh Bellamy, who has a 52% catch rate in his career, and has less than 1,000 yards total receiving. He's 29 years old. So I think he's one injury away from either being the number 1 feature running back out of the backfield or possibly that wide receiver 3, if that's the necessity. But for now,
You've just always loved Ty Montgomery.
I'm a Ty Montgomery guy. I don't know what to say. What I do know what to say is we will see you tomorrow with the Patriots are next. Yeah. With the New England Patriots, the defending champions. Our Jets fan lists are coming out right now. Don't forget to follow us on social media.
Mike _PETROP.
Jason PETROP.
And you can find me at Tim PETROP, but only if you're feeling real frisky. Don't forget to check this out on youtube.com/Broto Fantasy. Also, patreon.com/Broto Fantasy. And Instagram at Broto Fantasy. With that being said, we out.
Later.